Thank you for sticking around despite the sun shining and late in the afternoon. I was just about to tell you what I'm going to talk about, but he just told you what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to, take 15 minutes to do just that. Just starting a little bit of color about myself. As he mentioned, spent the last 5 years at Twitter, and I've really kind of had two tracks that run in parallel and sometimes converged over the last 15 years in kind of media, corporate, and tech, and then the startup track. A couple of them turned into small businesses, one still going, the others failed, and been delighted for that to converge at Google, where I've the last year been working at Google for Entrepreneurs and helping now to grow ecosystems around the world and specifically really focused on Germany and doing work here. So I want to talk a bit about that. So what does Google Entrepreneurs do as an organization? Really, it's about helping startup communities. It's about helping entrepreneurs. It's about finding those startups, helping them work with Google and grow, bringing the best of our resources to ecosystems around the world and supporting them. So why do we do that? Well, the story really began about 20 years ago. And in this is the garage where it all began. And the two founders that had graduated out of their dorm room moved into the garage. When they got to about 8 employees, that's when they went and got a real office. This was actually Susan Wojcicki's garage. Susan is now the CEO of YouTube. And so, of course, the rest is history. But what the founders knew from that experience, of course, looking back now, Google, huge success, but they still know how difficult it was starting out. And so that was really the motivation. It was the founders that said 7 years ago, we want to start Google for Entrepreneurs. We want to help others that are on that journey. And of course, that is great for cities. It's great for the national economy. And it's also good for the digital economy, which Google also thrives on. So the couple of the ways which we focus our efforts in helping entrepreneurs, one is through partnerships. So we have partners all around the world, from Mexico City to a tech hub in Karachi to Gaza and the Gaza Sky Geeks, doing a phenomenal job. I met up with them a couple of weeks ago, listening to their challenges in ecosystem building. Very, very different to here, as you can imagine, to Dublin, and of course also to the factory. So all across the world, supporting them with resources, but importantly, connecting them to each other so that they can learn from each other and don't have to redefine the wheel each time. So these are just a few of our partners, and you'll see that we have quite a focus across the world on diversity, and our mission really trying to bring in many more founders, underrepresented founders into the ecosystem, making it more accessible for everyone. And so we have partners such as She Starts, which is an accelerator for female founders in Australia. We have She Codes for bringing more female coders in Israel. We have Code 2040, which is helping top Black and Latino engineers to thrive in America, and Astia as well, which is women's leadership in high potential startups. So these are some of our partners. And we also have some of our earliest partners, Techstars, Startup Grind, Startup Weekend, etc. The other way in which we support ecosystems is we build campuses. So we have 6 worldwide where we go much deeper into an ecosystem, provide a lot more resources, and have it be a platform where we focus on community, we focus on education, and we focus on acceleration. And we're excited about having launched a hub at Factory, Google for Entrepreneurs Hub, and of course, we're excited about building our campus, which is in the process of being built at the moment in Berlin, and will launch at the end of the year. So some of the things that we're doing, to give you a brief overview, in terms of programming, in terms of opportunities that we're trying to open, we're trying to help startups go global. We do that also through our global passport. So if you just are a free member of Campus or Google for Entrepreneurs or one of our partner hubs, such as the Factory, you can work from any hub, any of our partners in 140 different countries through this passport program for free. We run exchanges, so we just ran an exchange in Tel Aviv, bringing startups from around the world working in the field of computer vision to work with top experts. We run demo days around the world, and we run immersion programs, for instance, through our partner Blackbox Connect, and provide scholarships for that. And we also provide a layer of programming kind of on top of the community events that we're running, for instance, at our hub in Factory, such as Startup School, such as Residency, which we'll be bringing to Berlin, which is our 6-month acceleration program focused on growth stage startups, and a bunch of other stuff. And ultimately, what we're also trying to do is make it easier to work with Google. I think that's what we've heard from a lot of startups in the past. It's like, how do I actually work with Google? What are the tools? What are the best practices? I need access to expertise, be it in apps, be it in AI, be it in cloud. And that's what we're trying to do. So we have also, for instance, you'll start seeing us a lot more at conferences. We have a booth here today. We're running office hours, et cetera, down at our hub in Factory. So do reach out to us. And so ultimately, what we've seen over the last 6-7 years is the momentum that's growing in terms of the impact that we're able to have through our partners and through our campuses. We measure our success really on the success of the startup, so the jobs we create through the partner network, the funding that's raised. And for instance, last year alone, 400,000 entrepreneurs went through our programs at campus and at our partners. So I think some of the learnings that we've made over these years and talking to our partners, and we did a study as well on kind of what makes a successful ecosystem. And it boils down to these 5 ingredients. Talent is the access to great talent, not just engineering, but business and diverse talent and creative talent, and is the city attracting that? Density in terms of is the infrastructure that will make startups successful in terms of co-working, in terms of accelerators, et cetera. Is the culture conducive? And that is something that Germany in the past was not. The acceptance of failure, it's taken Germany quite a long time to get to where we are today, and this is still a barrier. It's a big barrier to entry and to getting more people into entrepreneurship. Obviously, the access to capital is key, VC, angel, and also from state funds, and regulation. I think in many ways, when you look at ecosystems such as Tel Aviv and Israel, it's been so successful because of the regulatory environment, because of the investment that has been made over the last 20+ years. In Berlin, I hear from a lot of people that it's actually the success of Berlin has been despite of the regulatory environment and not because of it. And there's a lot of opportunity there. So we're actually going to be launching a study very soon with the German Startup Association called the Berlin Startup Monitor. And I just wanted to give a very quick kind of sneak preview of a few of the takeaways as that relates to these 5 ingredients. And I think maybe on the first one, I've probably been a bit British about my good. I think this should be awesome. And the fact that nearly 75% of founders would start up again after failing, that's extremely healthy. You need serial entrepreneurs in an ecosystem to thrive. I think it's great to see that Berlin has come a long way as well in terms of thinking about culture, thinking about that very early on as you build a business on what is the kind of culture that I want for my employees, the values that we were based on, and that's extremely important. As I said, in terms of the asks and the challenges, one of the major challenges is really an ask to politicians to reduce the bureaucratic and the regulatory hurdles. There are of course, lots of similar asks around tax reform, et cetera. So lots of opportunity that we can do better there. I think finally, an area where, while Berlin has more female founders compared to other regions in Germany, at 16% of all founders being female, that's still way, way too low. And that's something I think is a massive opportunity. And so I think when we put this in context, right, the ecosystem is about 20 years old. If you think about actually the decades of growth and innovation to come, then we're right at the very, very beginning of the Berlin startup ecosystem. that means that we have a chance to shape it, we have a chance to build the foundations, and to think about what do we want this ecosystem to become, what do we want it to be. And I think that's a massive opportunity for us right now, because at some point, it's shaped, and then it's growing so fast, it's difficult. But I think we still have this opportunity, and I think it's up to all of us to take that. And I would like to focus on two areas: talent and culture. This is by no means an empirical study, but what I thought I'd do is I'd just go and look at, say, the 13 kind of leading VCs, company builders, and just have a look at the leadership and leadership teams, the managing partners. And what you'll see is that from this Stichprobe, this sample, 62 people in management and leadership of these VCs, there's only 3 women. And there's not many people of a diverse background. And I know that I have a lot of friends and geschätzte Kollegen that are working in this area. I know that they're trying hard to try and diversify their teams. But this is the opportunity that we have to grab right now. And we know that diverse teams lead to better results, and therefore the investment is worth it, the investment in diverse teams. And if we can diversify the landscape and diversify, for instance, access to capital, then hopefully we'll also get more diverse founders. There was an article a couple of years ago in Die Welt, actually, that said Berlin is the more humane Silicon Valley. And while I won't go into comparisons between the two ecosystems, I do think this is, again, the opportunity that we have now to think about our ecosystem and how we want to define it. How do we want Berlin to be seen in the world? Right now, Berlin is hugely hyped. Everyone loves Berlin as a city. The ecosystem is extremely exciting. It's growing fast. But what else do we want to be known for? When people describe Berlin as an ecosystem, what are the adjectives they would use and that we want them to use? And I think that comes down to what are the values that should underpin our companies and the values that the culture that we build within our companies, and also the impact on society that we want to have collectively as an ecosystem. And I think that's something definitely that is up to us to grab and to discuss and to talk about, and it's great to see some panels coming up in the next couple of panels. And of course, you just heard a panel on meaningful tech revolution. And I think that's a really interesting topic for us to discuss around meaningful tech. And so certainly that's our mission at Google for Entrepreneurs. That's what we're excited about. We're passionate about doing that worldwide, and we really see an opportunity in Berlin, not just to support the existing ecosystem, but really look at how can we create a new diverse generation of entrepreneurs and open it up to many other people, getting them into entrepreneurship, creating companies that have a positive impact on the world. So just a few of the ways that we're doing that. Just this morning, we kicked off a Campus for Parents program. So bring in kind of first-time founders that are on their maternity or paternity leave, and we select